A gold coin has just emerged from the ground in Jerusalem, and the face engraved on it shouldn't be there. Because this woman never set foot in Jerusalem. Rivka Langler had been doing this for 2 years. Dirt from the excavations at the Givati Parking Lot in Jerusalem, sifting through her fingers as she searched for anything that might have survived hidden there. Fragments, stones, small traces, until something glinted. It was tiny, but there was something different about it. Rivka looked closer and realized it was gold, not a jewel, not just a scrap of metal, a gold coin emerging from the ground in Jerusalem. And that alone was enough to raise an uncomfortable question. What was it doing there? The answer would get even stranger. Because on one face of the coin was the portrait of a woman who didn't belong to Jerusalem. Her face belonged to another kingdom, another city, one of the great powers of the Hellenistic Mediterranean. It was Berenice II, Queen of Ptolemaic Egypt, and this coin was extraordinarily rare. Only 17 to 20 known examples of this type exist. It's a quarter drachma, minted between 246 and 241 BCE, 99.3% gold. Its most likely origin, Alexandria. The small object pulled from the ground in Jerusalem takes us almost instantly to Hellenistic Egypt. Other coins of this type were already known. But an ancient coin without secure provenance tells us a lot about who's on it, and almost nothing about where it's been. This example is different. It's the first of its kind ever recovered in a controlled archaeological context. And that completely changes the question we can ask. Because now there's a place. Jerusalem. Before asking how the coin got to Jerusalem, someone is looking back at us through the gold. Berenice wears a diadem, a veil, a necklace. A cornucopia and stars also appear. But the most intriguing detail isn't an image. It's a word, in Greek, basilisses, of the queen. At first glance, it seems like just a title. But this is where the coin opens up a bigger question. Experts Robert Kuhl and Chaim Gittler suggest something intriguing. This inscription may indicate Berenice not just as a consort, but as a political authority in her own right. It's not certainty. It's a legitimate question. And it changes everything that follows. Berenice II belonged to the Ptolemaic dynasty and to Cyrenaica. Her husband was Ptolemy III. And during his campaign in Syria, Berenice is associated with a regency role. Suddenly, that inscription takes on another dimension. The face we first saw as an unknown image belongs to a woman close to the center of Ptolemaic power. And the coin's timing matters. Between 246 and 241 BCE, the world around Berenice was caught in the Third Syrian War. On one side, the Ptolemies. On the other, the Seleucids. Ptolemy leaves for war. Berenice remains at the head of the kingdom. Experts suggest coins like this may have circulated as military payments. Maybe. Wars don't just move armies, they move money. And that helps explain how a piece of gold minted in Egypt could travel so far. But possible isn't proven. Between Alexandria and Jerusalem lies a journey we can't reconstruct. Elites, trade, a diplomatic gift. No hypothesis becomes certainty. We don't know who carried it. We don't know when it arrived. The person connected to it vanished from history. The question that brought us here was simple. How did a coin of Berenice II end up in Jerusalem? We can't reconstruct that journey, but we know one thing. It was in Jerusalem. And that changes everything. Maybe the right question isn't, how did it get here anymore? Maybe it's, what kind of Jerusalem could be connected to an object like this? The traditional view describes post-586 BCE Jerusalem as small and economically weak. In that scenario, a rare Alexandrian gold coin looks even more out of place. But researchers aren't looking at it in isolation. Excavations at the Givati Parking Lot uncovered other materials from urban occupation during the Persian period and the early Hellenistic period. The coin enters a story that was already being rebuilt and takes on new meaning. A single coin doesn't prove Jerusalem was prosperous. It doesn't rebuild its economy. It doesn't rewrite its history on its own. What it does is more interesting. It adds to a set of signs pointing to a Jerusalem in recovery, more active, more connected to the Ptolemaic world than the traditional picture suggested. And now we look again at Rivka's coin. It's the same object, the same gold, the same face, the same inscription. But we're no longer seeing the same thing. First the metal, then the rarity, then Berenice. The queen led us to her authority to the Ptolemaic world, that world, to war. The war opened paths of circulation, and when none of those paths could explain the journey, the place where it was found became more important than any route we could imagine. If you enjoy discovering how small pieces of evidence can open up huge chapters of history, subscribe to Rediscovered Secrets and turn on notifications for the next discoveries. But there's one last thing this coin can't give back: the name. Who carried it to Jerusalem? Who received it? Who kept it? We don't know. Maybe we'll never know. A person more than 2,200 years ago was somehow connected to this small piece of gold. She couldn't have imagined that one day her piece of gold would be pulled from the earth and studied not just for the face engraved on it, but for the place where it survived. Berenice endured because her face was engraved in the gold. That other person endured in a far quieter way. No name, no portrait, no written history. Only through the incomplete trail of an object that once passed through her hands. Maybe the most important discoveries aren't the ones that finally answer every question. They're the ones that survive long enough to teach us to ask better ones. The coin is still the same. What changed is everything we can now see inside it.